Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about some of the stranger and more surprising things happening lately in our culture, mostly coming from what's often called the woke left. Now, I'm going to keep things chill but honest because some of these topics are just weird enough to make you chuckle, yet serious enough that we can't just ignore them. So get comfy and let's dive in. First up, the ongoing debate about transgender people using restrooms that align with their gender identity. Okay, look, respect for everyone is absolutely a must. But how this debate has unfolded is pretty wild. Picture this: a man walks into a women's restroom wearing makeup and maybe a wig, and suddenly he's accepted as a woman in that space. It sounds almost like a strange reality show plotline, right? I mean, it feels like biology and longstanding social norms have been flipped on their head, and all of a sudden laws support that change without much public discussion. This shift raises a lot of questions about privacy and security for everyone involved. You know, um, no one wants to hurt or disrespect anyone's identity, but it's fair to say that changes like this happening so fast can leave a lot of people scratching their heads and wondering what happened. To common sense. You know, um, I have a daughter. And I wouldn't want a man undressing or a boy undressing or pissing in front of my daughter at school or anything. I mean that's pathetic. But speaking of common sense, let's talk about the waves of protests, turning into riots we've been seeing in the cities across the whole country. The ones they start off peaceful, like there's supposed to be peaceful demonstrations that sometimes turn into looting, burning buildings, and fights with police. And honestly, I've seen the footage for myself. There's definitely a huge difference between peaceful protests and violent chaos, people. But what's baffling is how some people publicly defend or even encourage that chaos by calling it a social justice movement. Meanwhile, regular folks like us end up with ruined businesses and neighborhoods that cost more to live in. It's kind of like inviting your neighbors over for a barbecue, only for someone to burn down the grill. Not the vibe you were hoping for, right? Um, Another hot topic is the relationship between the woke left and law enforcement. It's fair to say that trust has really declined. Calls to defund the police are common and have been for the last couple of years, and lots of officers, along with agents from immigration agencies, especially ICE, are painted as villains or racists. Sure, no system is perfect, and there's always room for reform. But labeling every officer, or immigration agent, the enemy for just doing their jobs isn't it ain't that's not the answer. These people keep the peace and enforce the laws that are important for public safety. Yet, some protests target their offices with vandalism or worse. And guess what? The media often either ignores this or even cheers it on. The terrifying part is if law enforcement steps back completely, who's going to keep the streets safe? Spoiler alert, it won't be the people causing the problems. So, now on to political correctness. Okay, it's taken center stage in ways that can feel a little over the top these days. There's activists and politicians are telling us that what words are okay, which parts of history should be taught or scrubbed, and which statuses should be taken down. Inclusivity is great, no doubt, but sometimes it feels like we're being watched for every little thing, from what you say to the books you read or the jokes you tell. I mean, comedians are, ask any comedian, but when classic novels get banned or monuments are removed because someone is offended, it creates a big cultural split. Um, People start feeling like they're living in completely different worlds. Um, and then there's cancel culture, and one wrong comment or opinion, and you're out. Like I just said about the comedians, your job could be gone, your social media deleted, and your reputation wrecked, all because you didn't toe the line. It raises serious questions about freedom of speech and whether it's really alive and well anymore, or if it's just freedom to say what a certain group approves. Anything else, and there are consequences. So I'm rambling, but I think that this is how I think if you want your voice heard and you want to have your opinion on these things, you need to do this kind of stuff. Get on on your social media and just give your opinion and try to get some feedback, or try to learn different things about each side. But I'm conservative. But look, I'm not here to say progress is bad, or to deny anyone their rights. But when you have situations where men are legally allowed in women's restrooms just by saying so, violent protests are cheered on as if nothing's wrong, law enforcement is demonetized or demonized for doing their jobs, and free speech feels like a landmine. Well, it kind of feels like common sense packed up and left town. So, yeah, the woke left has been involved in some pretty wild and sometimes violent things recently. If you think I'm exaggerating, just take a look around. The chaos is happening right in front of us every day. Thank you so much for hanging out while I broke this down. If you like this honest look at what's going on around our country, hit that like button and subscribe, please. And let's keep talking, because the truth deserves to be heard, and you deserve to be heard. So until next time, stay safe, think smart, and keep standing up for common sense. And please like and subscribe this. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. The real conservative, real conservative. Thank you.